When Andor first premiered in 2022, it was met with a mix of critical acclaim and fan skepticism. Unlike the Jedi-centric adventures that defined Star Wars for decades, this series was methodical and unflinchingly mature. While Season 1 earned praise for its depth and realism, it struggled to resonate with audiences accustomed to lightsaber duels and space battles. Season 2, initially stumbling out of the gate with a clunky opening arc, seemed destined to follow the disappointing trajectory of other prestige sequels. The Last of Us Part 2, anyone? But then, against all odds, Andor did the unthinkable. It became one of the best pieces of Star Wars storytelling since the original trilogy. Now, there have been mixed feelings about the finale, and let's talk about it. So, the meeting between Luthen and Lonnie in one B-By is Andor's exploration of moral compromise. Their public rendezvous, which was a break from protocol, underscores Lonnie's desperation and Luthen's calculated ruthlessness. Lonnie's revelation about the Death Star ties together the Gorman massacre, Jedha's subjugation, and Scarif's occupation, framing the Empire's tyranny as systematic rather than episodic. Luthen's immediate execution of Lonnie isn't just pragmatic. It reflects his monologue in Episode 10. He burns his decency for someone else's future. His suicide by artifact is a final act of control, denying the Empire a victory while symbolizing the self-destruction inherent in his path. And Clea's mercy-killing echoes Luthen's own methods. And this completes his arc. A man who sacrificed everything, even his legacy, for a rebellion that will never know his name. And then we have Dedra. Well, the downfall of Dedra when she finds out that the Empire eats its own. Dedra's arrest by the ISB exposes the Empire's hypocrisy. Her obsession with excess blinds her to the bureaucracy's fragility. Krennic's interrogation reveals how the Death Star's secrecy outweighs loyalty. Her imprisonment, which is likely Nakrina 5, is sort of poetic justice, mirroring Cassian's earlier captivity and underscoring the Empire's cyclical brutality. The narrative frames her as a tragic figure, not for her ideals, but for her failure to recognize she was always expendable to the machine she served. Then we have Cassian, or should we say Cassian's crucible, from rogue to revolutionary. Now, Cassian's unsanctioned mission to Coruscant marks his full transformation into the Rogue One operative. His defiance of Draven basically mirrors Luthen's ideological shadow, which is action over protocol. The standoff with the ISB highlights K2SO's brutal efficiency, while the Rebel Council's hesitation contrasts with Mon Mothma's resolve, a microcosm of the Alliance's growing pains. Cassian's departure for Kafrene is laden with dramatic irony. Viewers know that his path leads to his death, but the show frames it as inevitable, a price he's now willing to pay. Now, Bix's rebellion was a bit different. It was, you can describe it as a quiet rebellion, sort of a legacy beyond war. And the finale's reveal of Bix with Cassian's child is Andor's most touching subversion. Unlike Star Wars' typical chosen one tropes, the child isn't a plot device but a symbol of ordinary hope. Bix's choice to leave sort of complements the sacrifice made by Luthen, and it reflects the show's thesis that rebellion demands personal losses beyond battlefield deaths. Her return to Mina Rao, which is a site of trauma, transforms it into a sanctuary, suggesting resilience in the face of cyclical violence. The sunrise she watches is Luthen's unseen dawn, a future bought by those who'll never live in it. Now, there are a lot of thematic threads that I want to talk about, specifically truth, sacrifice, and historical erasure. And we see that in ISB's bureaucratic infighting, sort of the banality of evil, basically fascism's self-cannibalization. Then Luthen's death basically parallels Cassian's in Rogue One. Both die anonymously for a cause that will honor others. Then there's the price of knowledge. Lonnie's intel costs his life, just as Nemec's manifesto outlives him. Truth is weaponized and buried in equal measure. Now, Andor's brilliance really lies in its refusal to glorify war. Even victories are pyrrhic. Even heroes are compromised because all these people, they're fighting for a future that they will not probably see. They're fighting for the next generations. So season 2 of Andor had a sort of an arc that was divisive, then became definitive. So Andor's redemption arc was simply awesome. From early episodes of Andor season 2 suffered from pacing issues. Sure, I mean, they spent too much time on meandering subplots while struggling to recapture the tension of its predecessor. Particularly controversial assault scene in episode 3 further alienated viewers, making it seem like the show was losing its way. Yet, by episodes 4 to 6, the narrative tightened. Disparate storylines converged, stakes escalated, and the show's meticulous world building paid off in unexpected ways. The Empire, often reduced to mustache-twirling villains in Star Wars media, was portrayed here as a terrifyingly efficient machine of oppression, cold, calculating, and ruthlessly pragmatic. But the true turning point came in episodes 7 and 9, which undoubtedly delivered one of the most vexing and thematically rich arcs in Star Wars history. At the heart of this arc was the Gorman Massacre, pivotal event where the Empire manipulated a peaceful protest into a bloodbath to justify seizing control of the planet. The buildup was masterful, subtle propaganda, military positioning, and psychological warfare, all leading to an inevitable, horrifying climax. What made this sequence so powerful was its realism. Unlike the cartoonish evil of the Rise of Skywalker's Palpatine or the antics of the Book of Boba Fett, Andor depicted fascism as it truly operates, through systematic coercion, manufactured consent, and the slow erosion of freedom. The Empire didn't just crush dissent, it engineered it, ensuring the oppressed would walk willingly into their own subjugation. One of the most devastating moments came when Cyril Karn, a loyal Imperial enforcer, realized he had been complicit in a massacre. His breakdown, choking his lover, Dedra, in a fit of rage, was a raw, unflinching portrayal of cognitive dissonance. Here was a man who had spent his life serving a system that had just revealed itself as monstrous. His arc wasn't redemption, it was basically reckoning. Now, Andor's brilliance lies in its refusal to pander. There are no Jedi, no Force mysticism, no quippy droids for levity, just ordinary people navigating a galaxy under tyranny. The show's political intrigue is more Tinker-Tailor Soldier Spy than The Phantom Menace, and its character drama rivals prestige TV like The Wire or Chernobyl. Now, initially, this approach did alienate fans who were expecting the franchise's usual spectacle, but by season 2, Andor proved that Star Wars could be more than nostalgia bait. It could be smart, challenging, and emotionally devastating. These are the qualities rarely associated with Disney's recent output. Now, despite its acclaim, Andor was never a ratings juggernaut. Its 2-season arc, originally planned for 5, was condensed due to budget constraints and Disney's shifting priorities. And therein lies the tragedy. Andor may be the last Star Wars project of its kind. In an era where Disney prioritizes safe, fan service-driven content, The Mandalorian is probably on the top of the list here, but I personally love The Mandalorian. But my point is that Andor was something completely different. It was a bold experiment in mature storytelling. It asked, What if Star Wars grew up? The problem is that corporate franchises rarely reward risk, especially when the safer bet is another Baby Yoda spinoff. My final verdict is that it's a masterpiece that may never be repeated, and it's going to have a cult following. Andor Season 2 isn't just great Star Wars, it's great television, period. Its finale leading directly to Rogue One cements Cassian's transformation from cynical thief to selfless rebel. The Gorman Massacre stands as one of the franchise's most chilling sequences, and Mon Mothma's defiant Senate speech is a career best moment for Genevieve O'Reilly. But perhaps the show's greatest achievement is proving that Star Wars can be more than escapism. It can be a mirror to our world, a story about resistance, sacrifice, and the cost of fighting tyranny. And yet, for all its brilliance, Andor may remain an anomaly. Disney's future slate, The Mandalorian and Grogu, Dawn of the Jedi, suggests the return to formula. So while we celebrate this rare triumph, we must also mourn that what could have been. Only if more fans had embraced a Star Wars that dared to be different. Because Andor didn't just redeem itself, it redeemed the potential of Star Wars itself. And now, it's gone. Anyways, this was a review made by the Morbidly Obese Duck. And I'm just gonna waddle away now. Quack.